Hello, and welcome to another episode of the TriNext podcast, a collaborative initiative by Triton Logistics and Maritime and Logistics Insider Media, where we break down the complexities of global supply chains with insights from the industry experts, and the sharpest mind was sitting there. I'm your host, Jitendra Srivastava, CEO of Triton Logistics and Maritime. Today, we deep dive into a sector that quite literally fuel innovations across different industries, the chemical supply chain. From specialty chemicals to green solvents, this domain is undergoing rapid transformation. But with complexities comes a lot of vulnerability. How are companies managing the volatility? What technologies are reshaping operations? And what does the future look like for the professionals building or looking at a career in this space? To help us unpack all this, I am joined by two remarkable industry leaders with us, Mr. Ajay Singh, Chief Supply Chain Officer and Vice President at Hindustan Platinum, and Mr. Varun Kakkar, General Manager Supply Chain at Grasim Industry Limited and Aditya Birla Group. Gentlemen, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on this show.
Thanks for inviting.
So let's start with some of the innovation which is happening in the chemical sector. The sustainability is the talk of today, and this is on the rise with bio-based polymers, green solvents, and low-carbon alternatives. There is a clear push towards a cleaner supply chain at the moment. So in your view, gentlemen, what product or category holds the most promise to be a game changer for sustainable logistics in the chemical sector?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think we have to go back to this to 20, 30 years back and see that why this need of the hour for the new products, greener products of the in the chemical side has come up. Basically, there was a thrust on various products being put into the market with R&D setups across the globe, seeing that why this is being more on the commodity markets. Considering that fact, it is a commoditizing the products, not on the look, considering the environment as such across the globe. And last decade or so, it has been seen the incidents happened because of the products movements and products leakages. We have seen product being disastrous on the not only the environment for the individuals in the industries. And that is where the need of the green chemistry or the product which are the greener side of the things for the whole world has come up. Considering the government push up from all across globe, the COP 2628 which has concluded recently has also focused on how the environmental can be looked into which way, and every country has now a focus on by 2030 or 2050 they have to come up with a proposal that how they can at least have a products which is really going to have a substance focusing on the product which are really environmental friendly. And that is where I think the things has started coming into focus within India, which we say after COVID, China plus, when the whole shift of chemical products in India, I think a lot of R&D setups has come up, setting that things of how the new products are having exposure to the greener side of the which have a sustain on the environmental. If I say one product which is we also were doing it like which is very focused on the pharma industry, and we focus more on extracting the metal and putting this product into pharma ingredients, and this is where we started looking into the alternative products, and a lot of R&D thrust has gone into this, where we have a lot of manufacturing substance being added up to see that while producing the products, things have been not hurting individuals in the industry, and also at a larger aspect of environmental sustainability. I think that has focused on the complete side of the greener products.
Right. Absolutely. Varun, anything from your side on this?
Yeah, so thanks a lot, Ajay, for setting the context very well. I think I'll just quickly add to what Ajay has mentioned here. So I think two things I'd like to add. One is why are we moving in this direction in a more greener, and secondly, what we are doing towards moving in that direction. First is why we are moving in this direction of more greener. I think what we have seen is first is from the consumer end. Now the consumers are willing to pay that value added advantage for those greener products. We see now compared to earlier when some of the I think chemical products were seen as commodities and there was no value differentiations. Now we have seen consumers are ready to pay that extra. They understand what is this green chemical, green chemistry, and how does it impact us, and they're ready to pay for that. That is, I think, number one. Second is the kind of R&D facilities and how supply chain has evolved. Now the supply chains are equipped to be able to handle those products better, one thing, and the R&D setup is there where we are actually spending that kind of a amount and spending that kind of a time in developing those green materials and green products so that we can really handle them well and give it to the consumer a much better products. I think obviously the global supply chain becoming one has really helped in that. So earlier you would have those the same shipper handling the same products in the same way. There was no specialized shipping, the specialized handling of that product outside the supply chain, due to which obviously there will be a mingling of this product with your regular product. So that has obviously changed. So now coming to the point on what the industry is doing and how these products are being changed, I would put this into four portions. One is the complete substitution of the products. Now, with that R&D coming in and globalization coming in, the industry has a lot of alternatives, and we can actually have that bio-based product or those green products, and there is an opportunity to be able to work on them and change them. You take it any example, chemical industries. Earlier, we did not have that options. If you wanted to have an FMCG, let's say, washing product, you did not have any options itself to be able to give those green products to the consumer, which has not changed. Second is the manufacturing setup. A lot of work has been done to be able to have that kind of a manufacturing setup where the hazards in terms of handling, I think Ajay also mentioned there, those hazards in terms of handling those products, we have been really able to put those systems and processes in place so that I think a lot of exposure used to happen in the manufacturing setup. You would go to the plants and manual handlings of some of these very hazardous material which would happen, which has completely been automated with those your automated MES DCS systems coming in. So people who are really working on those lines are really not getting, they really don't need to focus on this product on a daily basis. Second is outside those manufacturing setup, working with those suppliers, working with the logistics teams and across the world logistics, focus has been put on there as well. So for example, companies are really focusing on partner and suppliers who specialize in handling those chemicals or those products in a correct manner and focusing on giving them to the consumer. So those specialized logistics, specialized handling setup has really worked and is really doing well. Also, for the end consumer also, we have seen that again, a lot of work has been done to ensure that even at the consumer end, in terms of application and using the correct application and correct use of these chemicals has been there. I think we have seen in COVID, nowhere earlier we would see those people wearing those masks and using the correct PPEs and putting those products, which we have seen now, so that the public psyche also have understood that okay, some of these products they need to be handled in a correct way and they need to be applied in a correct way. So I think across the supply chain, from R&D using in the plants, outside the plants, and consumer, the change is happening, and it's good to see that. I think we have really come a long way, but I still think compared to maybe the industrialized countries, we have still got a long way to go, and I think we are just on the surface of this green products. So I think good times to be here, and I think the future looks quite bright here.
And quite a dynamic change from the industry sector, if I look at it, I mean, in all angles. But while we look at all those dynamic changes happening, I would also like to emphasize on the kind of the disruptions which are happening today, and the supply chain resilience is becoming more and more important and critical today. So now when you see all those disruptions shaking up the entire chemical industry today, I mean, be it your raw material shortage or shipping delays or maybe the compliances, which are required to be done here. If you pick up one of or a few of the major vulnerability in the chemical supply chain that keeps you up at night, what kind of support, for example, like the governmental or technological or collaborative, what do you believe can help you in mitigating these risks?
If I'll cover it up in a two part, the first part will be real supply chain disruptions, the way it is being happening across the globe. I think that is a need of the hour to handle it, and I think it is a nightmare for all of us in the supply chain. Is really tickling down the any disruption happening, whether it is a Red Seas or any disruption happening across the globe, which is really a nightmare, because the product availability and product maturity level, you can handle it, because supplier and vendors, you can do the collaboration, you can do the time management with them, and we can aspect with them to handle those things. But the world is not the same, where you have to have a dependency of your raw material within the country.
Exactly.
You have to be
Exactly.
totally depend upon across the globe. Like example, metal, the pure metal. We are not having any mines in India to extract the pure metal, say platinum, palladium. You have to have dependency on Russia, Australia,
Yeah,
or South
absolutely.
African mines.
Absolutely.
So there is interdependent on the across the globe of these products, and that is where the supply chain disruption on the logistics and movement of goods comes in the picture. And with the disruptions and geopolitical situation comes in, and that gives a really a shaking things to any supply chain leaders or supply chain officer, to how to handle this product, how to move this product, because a Red Sea incident itself, the lead time has gone up from 30 days from material being coming from Europe to India, from 30 days to 45 days. So how you can set up your own, all the internal inventory management, because if you see the cost of the material is very phenomenal, because 60 to 80% of your product cost is the raw material cost. So you have to build up in your inventory all these raw materials for across 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, and then you have to secure your network. Giving example of this Russia-Ukraine war, the availability of gases from Russia to Europe was minimal, and then all the industry in Europe was like they are either they have closed their manufacturing, or the delay of lead time has gone up very high. One of our own product in the company, which has gone from 3 month to 9 month of lead time period. So you can understand the inventory, to keep it for a 3 to 9 month of inventory, how much working capital you are blocking it. So this supply chain disruptions has become now it becomes a norms for us, but it is really a nightmare to handle it. But I think we collaboratively we have to work with all the logistics companies, even with the shipping companies, and with the government bodies, to see that the things are flawlessly moving across the globe, and at least we are having ultimately the products are being going to the entire population across the globe. So it is a square one for everyone. So we have to see from that perspective. Adding to this one, the second pointer is on the compliance part. This statutory compliance for every industries or every country is a different part. If you see from the chemical side, we have a lot of norms being there across different, like European norms are different than the Asia Pacific to the North America and South America. So various time we need to adhere to the norms, and sometime during the transit of the material you have some norms get changes, and even in my own organization we have seen it. There are a lot of penalties being imposed when the material reaches to the port there. So that is the statutory, I think, compliances has to be considering the cognizance of all the facts together across. That is it really we are addressing all the norms and conditions across the globe, or we are very specific to only for our own country or own continent. I think that is what I can see it from my side.
Absolutely. And keeping inventories is not an ideal situation, and I'm sure that this puts a lot of pressure on the cost front, on how to keep it. I mean, chemical is not just an ordinary product that you can keep in inventory, it's a very specialized product. So Varun, what do you say about it?
If I have to just put it in one line, I think the chemical supply chains have changed from being efficient to being resilient, and with every going year it is becoming very, very prevalent. I think a lot of these events, for example, COVID was put as a black swan event, that something is going to happen once in every 100 years, and after that we have seen every year is the black swan event now. So disruption is the new normal in terms of that. So I think some of the old concepts that we used to learn in our colleges or learn in theory, like just-in-time concepts or like globalization concept, that is not what the real world is there right now. It's very, very dynamic. You can't set up your own supply chain. You can't just set up basis on your internal parameters. Always you have to take the world into account while doing it. For example, I want to import something. Earlier, what you would just do is, okay, I need this, my shipper needs this much time, this much he needs to make it, this much I need it, and this is done. That's it.
Yeah,
and I don't need to, after that, I don't really need to look at it.
Exactly.
No, it's not that. In each and everything, the world is now involved. You might be working with somebody, you might not be working. You have nothing in relation to Russia. But what happened is Russia has an impact on you. So that is now, I think the entire supply chain planning, you might be handling supply chain for a country, but that does not mean the supply chain of the world does not come to you. I think this is how the entire world has changed, and everybody needs to now focus on that. Everybody needs to know that what is going to be there. And even when we sit in the boardrooms and we are trying to set up those supply chains and how things are going to be set up, everything always that comes into the picture, and you have to take that into account. If you have an exposure to one country, if you have an exposure to one category, some specific chemicals, you always need to know what is going to be happening. And I think to be able to then work in that kind of an environment, what has now happened is that you have to go to the next level, both in a obviously on the downside and both on the upside. So earlier, for example, you tell your supplier that, okay, you give me this much quantity on this date. You really don't need to know what your supplier's capacity is, what their problems are, what areas he is going to get it from. So now that is not true. You need to know at all times what are the problems your supplier has, what is his capacity, what are the people that he is getting his material from. So that kind of a thing, your supplier has also not now become part of your own ecosystem, and you have to treat them as one of your own. You need to focus on them. All your information needs to go to them, and you need to work collaboratively with them together. Same is happening in your downstream. So earlier you would just, for example, for your FMCG or even for your auto industry, you would sell a car to your dealer, and after that you are done. You sell your product to your distributor, and then after that you are done. You are really not going to
Correct.
be bothered with that what my distributor is doing with that. This is not now the supply chains are not that way. Every day now we need to know what is the secondary, tertiary sale that is happening with our dealer, with our distributor, what is going to the customer, because it has an impact on me. If he is not able to liquidate my product, finally it is going to come to me as a supply chain, and obviously the impacts of the secondary or the tertiary is going to be again very, very difficult for me. So in that way now, again, from the primary, from the secondary, everything you need to know about it, because it's a very, very disruptive world, and you have to work accordingly. I think on the compliance portion, I think Ajay has already mentioned, so we'll not add anything in that. And this is how I think things are going to be in the future, and this is how we need to work as a supply chain professional. That is what makes what is happening in the real world very, very different from what we have all learned in theory.
Great, Varun, you touched on future a little bit. So, looking at whatever we have discussed, we see a lot of changes are happening in the complete supply chain. And whether it is on a positive side, when we say a lot of sustainable practices are being incorporated, or we talk from all the disruptive point of view, whether it is geopolitical, whether it is COVID, or but all these are also leading to a lot of VUCA kind of a principle, where you see a lot of volatility is there, and things are not very, I would say, you cannot predict it at the moment, and looking at this, one thing which comes to my mind is, how do you future-proof all this? And I think this is mainly done through the innovation. I mean, everybody is doing it through innovation, of course. And so this is something which I would like to ask you, sir, that I know that you are with Hindustan Platinum, and it's known for its precision and innovation today. So looking at this, I was just saying that, what breakthrough, either through technologies or operating models, do you see which is going to define the next decade of growth in this chemical industry? Especially, how are you going to make it more sustainable and more agile as you move forward?
And the industry where we are in, I think it is a very right fit for the complete circular economy, what we say it. Why I'm saying it this, because what we do is we do a refining of this precious metal, which comes from the oil rigging and all oil industries across GCC and APAC, and we do a refining of the pure metal, extract the metal, and use this metal into downstream industry. And that is where the circularity comes, and where I think we are talking a lot on scope 1, 2 and 3 and all the sustainable products being there in the market. I think that is rightly fit for the entire world to have this circular economy keep on going. I think this is a need of the hour for every industry to have this thing going across vertical of the industry, not only in the chemical industry. Restricting itself to our own domain of the chemical industry, then I think we are right fit where we are in currently. And to do all these things, I think we are very rightly putting all the infrastructures upstream and downstream both. If you recollect the earlier days of planning, that we had a sales forecast, demand forecast coming into system, and then we moved it to demand-driven MRPs within the ERPs, so many ERPs, and but the days has gone. I think the vulnerability and the uncertainty has the words, I think, has come into in the reality nowadays, because you need to live into this. You will never know which country where the supply and demand move it in which way. So you have to live into those aspects of having this product availability and doing all the aspects at right time, at right place every day.
Correct.
So that is where what we do is that we use this circularity of this material, and we not only do only a refining of the products of this precious metal, but always use this into downstream mapping into various industry, whether it is a pharma or fragrance or whether it is fertilizers or any sort of industry. And so the question comes that what technology is being coming, because it is a humongous task for individuals or a manual task to control all these things. So there are a lot of focus has been shift. The buzzwords are being there, like whether we are using AI, ML or blockchains. So what we do is, in the reality of the world, that okay, we go in the basics of the things. We have implemented a lot of warehouse management systems, MRPs within the ERP, and once the maturity has come into the level of reality in the sense, then we started looking into the how the artificial intelligence as such can be used in the data mining and data analytics. I think that is where AI is supporting a lot in the industries, and particularly our industry, we are using a lot in this to have the predictability of the product always on the radar, because customers are focusing on the paradigm shift of changing of their product in here and there. So can we do the molecules ready, and can we at least keep the final products on as per the movement of the thing. Like what we do is like a basic example from the restaurant, like you keep the basic recipe ready, and as per the customer demand you prepare it and give it in half an hour. So we are not doing it in 30 minutes or 10 minutes, but we are doing in a days and weeks, so that at least we have a focus on ready of the product as per the nitty-gritty of the requirement from all across the globe. I think we had to map up the customers' requirement across the globe, because the norms are very different. If you see, the European norms are getting stricter and stricter every day. The new norms are coming. So how we can polarize this product into a complete adherence to their requirement, and keeping the aspect of this environmental sustainable product, ready product always. So that is where I think we have used a lot of AI tools in a various aspect within the system, so to keep the ready product for always available to the market. I think a lot of substance of data mining, data analytics are being used to be ready with the product always, and to keep the because one aspect is that we had used this AI a lot in our R&D's setups, where I think the focus is more on, like, every product in the chemistry, small changes become a new product, like as you know, in chemical industry. So R&D setups and R&D things are always be on a radar. So we have used a lot of things on the AI tools on the R&D to make the product ready always to the market. And that is where I think this is a journey what we are doing. I think it's not a end of the journey, but a lot of tools are being internally being used to give our products to the market.
So you are relying a lot on analysis, the data analysis part of it.
Correct.
Mostly you touched on the predictive analysis. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Varun, your career is quite interesting. It spans across FMCG, paints, and now manufacturing. And I guess you have seen the first hand, or you have got that first hand experience that how logistics can really make or break a brand perception. You know. So, how do you see today the role of an efficient supply chain contributing through brand reliability in the chemical space, especially given the regulatory sensitiveness and the safety of the product involved?
Yeah, Jitendra. So I think I've been quite fortunate to be able to work with these kind of a brands who are really, really close to the customer, and the customers are working with us day in, day out. I think two things I'll just like to add. I think with this chemical brand, how sustainability logistics really helps is that for these brands, logistics and supply chain is actually the forefront. For these products to be able to sell, what the customer wants is these brands to be available whenever he wants them, and to be able to work on whatever he needs and give it to them. I think these two things are very, very critical, and distribution is very, very critical. Talk about any of the FMCG or any of the chemical brands, if it is not there on the shelf, it is not going to sell, and the customer wants consistency. If, for example, you cannot assure it to him that this product will always be available to him, then he's going to switch to a new product, and then you might not be able to really get back to that. Also, in some of those brands, the lead time is very, very high. So, for example, some of the chemical brands, the customer is not using your product on a day in, day out basis. He has to use it in a long gestation period. So, hence, the brand building has to be consistent. You're not going to have a very short cycle when you show it to a customer, then he buys it. Your brand has to be with the customer for a long period of time. He needs to understand your reliability, and Absolutely. Then after a long time, he's going to buy it to them. So in terms of there's two things. One is obviously being the brand which is consistent, which is available, and which has a far reach. So in FMCG, in chemical, being that reach is very, very important. Sometimes you might not be profitable. Sometimes that product will be expensive to be able to reach to the corners of the country, but you have to do it. The product has to be consistently available. And I think that is where all the AIML and the new age principles are really coming into, because you have a multi-echelon supply chain, which the regular systems really can't be able to make too much out of it. So you need to have those advanced systems to be able to take those calls and take those calls on a real-time basis, because you don't know if I want to deliver this material to this dealer today, I don't know which area is open, which area is not open, what is the correct way to do this. If I deliver it in the evening, then something else is going to be there. If I deliver in the morning, then something else is going to be there. Correct. So if you are trying to make a plan on what you want to do in the beginning of the month, it's really not going to work. You have to be able to respond with agility and then supply it to the customer at the right place at the right time. Correct. And in full. Correct. And with the quick commerce coming in and with the e-commerce coming in, the customer's expectation of what you want to have is very quickly coming down. So you have to be able to reach any customer at a very short duration of time. In an earlier point, for example, in a lot of your category, like an AC or like in chemical, customers were okay to get that product after 7 days. There is nothing which ensures that you need an AC or even or a paints in 7 days. But now that is not there, because everything they are getting in 10 minutes. So now 3 hours looks like a very, very long duration to be able to get those products. So then your supply chain has to be really focused on that. That is from the obviously reliability of the brand. Second is the agility. I think earlier you would have 1 or 2 big brands in a space and they will own those space. And once you have that moat set up in place, the moat will remain for 20, 30, 40 years and you don't really need to do too much. You have your plan, your long-term plans, and you would just execute those plans and nothing is going to happen. Now the cycle is so short, and I think there are consistently disruption happening in all spaces. Everybody is coming to you. You really can't, the maximum that you can have is a 6 months plan. That's it. After that, nobody is going to allow you to execute a very, very longer plan, be it quick commerce, be e-commerce, be it the fashion space, be it any space. Consistently, a lot of companies are doing innovation, and you have to respond to that. In that kind of environment, the only thing you have is agility. That's it. Correct. Once you get a feedback, you need to be closer to the customer. You need to get that feedback consistently and often. And once you see a trend, then you have to pivot on that trend. For example, be it that green logistics or green products. Once you see that trend happening, that okay, my consumer is ready for this kind of a green products, a sustainable product, then you have to quickly go towards that product and deliver it to quickly. You can't have that, okay, after 5 years, I will go to the entire R&D cycle and then I will deliver it to the customer. This is what we need to work in, and more than those long-term strategy. Now a short-term agile response is where we are at, and this is what the new supply chain professionals and the new managers of today need to work on a very, very daily basis. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think one of the disruption which is not caused by anything else is the customers' expectations and
Correct,
their preferences, you know.
Yeah,
It's,
we had bought it on ourselves. Now
Seriously,
we need to now we need to fulfill that promise. We have set up that
Exactly.
expectation. Now we are in this. Now we have moved into this new world. Now we need to deliver it. That's
Exactly. And what is surprising for me to see is that one is your daily need things, you know, which you need every day. I mean, here I'm talking about your bread and eggs and milk and everything. I can understand that you might need it. But now I'm seeing like a paint or a SIM card or something like, I mean, that is also coming into that 8 to 10 minutes category, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because see, the centricity of customer requirement is changing a lot. I think there's a complete paradigm shift has happened.
Yes.
Even in the commodity or maybe the industrial product, where the strategy is not to have like inventory being thick, like a stockist, dealer, sub dealer, and all the thing, which is not cutthroat competition going it through across the delivery immediately as you need, right? Okay, so I think the commercialization.
But the bar is setting very high now, and I don't know. And these disruptions are something which you need to have a very robust supply chain to really make it happen, because you can make a product, if it doesn't reach in time to somebody, then you know, I mean, your product may be the best in the market, but if it is not with the customer, then what do you do? So
but you can imagine the world where we are and the disruption which we were talking about earlier, right? If you have a lead times going across 30 to 45 days to 50 days, a product being going from India to US, like west coast of US, then how your planning has to be there, like how meticulous planning comes into the picture of the product being there and the shelf at the right moment, right time.
Absolutely.
So that you have a.
I think technology is going to play a very critical role here, because these things are to be done, and analytics, which you rightly touched on, sir, and I think this is one area where the whole supply chain has to focus in moving forward. So now we move to one of the section which is one of my favorite section. This is more about your career insight and the mentorship. I always feel happy to step back and talk about the journeys, you know, and I think this is the time where there are defining moments in your career. There are defining moments that has shaped up you as a professional, what you are today. So first is what you would like to talk about a little bit about your career, and one piece of advice you want to give to the next generation, the young professionals who are really looking forward to come into this chemical sectors. So what would you advise them to be?
So if I'll go back to the journey, I think it will take a lot of time, because the journey of 33 to 34 years of journey into this, and when I think when I started my career, there was no phenomenon of like supply chain management in India. It was like materials management, what we used to call it in the 90s, when you have like procurement, warehousing, stuffs. Little part of like dispatch distribution was part of the materials management, and it has evolved during the years and then converged into the early 2000 into supply chain, where supply chain itself is a very vast subject itself, because when we see as a new generation and the new topics which is coming into reality nowadays, we talk about supply chain as a one domain. But if you see within supply chain management, then it has a very various verticals. Like if you have a procurement and sourcing function is an entirely different aspect out of it, and when it comes to statutory or compliance part, it is totally one of the other dynamics. So they have to face the two, one the non-ended type of thing within the supply chain domain network. So this is how the whole journey started. I think always believed in my life that you have to keep your basic rights always, because wherever you are in a procurement and sourcing, then it's your supply relationship management, strategic sourcing, from which continent, which place, those basics have to be very basic, right, so that you are able to sustain your procurement and sourcing policies. And when it comes to the statutory compliance or regulatory compliances, then you need to focus on all the aspect, all the documentations, very straightforward. There is no way that you can divulge, or like one paper is not available, okay, nothing doing, okay, chalo chalta hai. Not like that. You have to have all the documentation in place and straightforward, so that at least you have in a long-term sustainability of these products or your movement of goods in a very compliance way. So if I see the journey, I think that is what I have seen and what I have observed with myself and my peer group across wherever I work is keep the basics right. And coming into now how the new things, new generation now, which things are coming. So my only advice or my only suggestions or putting it forward that keep learning and the basics out of it, keep basics right. What changes happened in last 20-30 years is that the physical aspect of working nowadays more on the things that we are using it, analytics on the systems or more than the like the going into the like what we used to call Japanese is like a gemba, going into the gemba, really seeing in the product or really seeing the working into the soft floors, right? So or in a logistic term, going into terminals, going into the airports, going into the forwarding agency, working with this CHAs, seeing it how they work, what are the things are really required on the practicality of the nature. I think those aspects has to be looked into very minutely. I think the world of the supply chain network and the aspect of going is for the new generation, the widespread requirements are there. Yes. I think we are comprehending only with the word of this supply chain management, but if you go in a detail, I think it's a very well diversified field. The 6 to 7 vertical itself within supply chain management. So the carriers are there, every vertical of within supply chain management.
Yes.
So you can make your carrier with your procurement and sourcing. With the smaller to larger organization, you can make your carrier into warehousing and the distributions. You can make your carrier into logistics. Logistics is one of the biggest area, I think, what in supply chain network is there, where you can make a carrier on international and domestic logistics.
Absolutely.
I think international logistics, I loved working in various organizations a lot. The movement of goods from across the globe, you're working early morning and seeing it how it is happening in Asia Pacific, late evening you are seeing how it is being delivered into US market and European market. So those are the different domain itself, and I think that is the and then the statutory and compliances part, right? This is one of the area apprehended to the EXIM, export and import. I think one can make a very good career out of it. And for myself, I think I lived in this supply chain network throughout the career of 34 years. And I think always I loved such people to come into this field. After COVID, I think supply chain management has got a lot of reflections.
Absolutely.
It has come to into the, as Bruno was talking, it has come to a boardroom talk now.
Yes.
People are talking a lot every day, a discussion happening in the boardroom on the supply chain reception network, where we are doing what. If our supply chain is straight, then everything is going to be profitable for the organization. So that is, I think I always prefer and always commend people to come into this field and to work on this, to take it forward to the new generations.
And what you mentioned, sir, that this topic, supply chain logistics, has moved to the boardroom, that echoes across industries. I have heard the same thing from the other industries as well. So this means it is completely industry agnostic. It's something which has come onto the forefront now. Logistics and supply chain is no more something which is hidden behind somewhere now. It's come to the front end. It's now people are looking at, it's quite visible, and yes, of course, COVID has given a lot of visibility. So Varun, what is your take on it?
I think so. Very, very broad question. I think, and Ajay, I think 33 years, how he has been able to summarize into 10 minutes. So I have a much easier problem at hand. I think I'll just break down into 3 things. One is how this career has been for me. I think I've been very, very fortunate that leaders like Ajay and you have been able to set up this supply chain for us. And I think the nuts and bolts have been in place when people like me have really come into the supply chain. So I think the tough part has already been done. And for us, it's been very easy to come out. And when when we have come in, those opportunities have been there. I think I've been quite fortunate from day one when I've joined, be it P&G, Asian Paints, or now Birla Group. People have really given us really good opportunities to be able to do things which we wanted to do, and things which have had very wide impacts. So that's been really good for us, and I think for the young generation. So we've been very fortunate. We've got good opportunity. We have got access. As I think when we have come, there has been always time that we have got opportunity to be able to go to the board and present some of those topics and get it approved. I think last 15 years, if you see the technology which has been really come into this. Earlier, the best technology that you would have, you would use this for your manufacturing, or you would use it for your front line. Now we are in this age when you go to your CEO, you go to your finance team and tell them, okay, I want this whatever multi-million-dollar solution for me. Now they understand that, okay, yes, your supply chain needs this kind of a solution, and the value add is there. And very seldomly does it happen to me that I have to even explain it to the finance. Even the finance team agrees that, oh yeah, this is important. This has impact on even for me. They are able to very quickly understand. So that's been really good. Secondly, I think what has happened is that not only inside, in the outside world also, the acceptance of supply chain has been really increased. When I remember when I joined a job in supply chain, for the first 10 years, I was not able to explain to anybody what I did. I just, whenever somebody would ask me, what do you do? I would just tell the company name, and after that I'll shut up. I said, I'm not wasting my time trying to explain to you what I did. I think a lot of people used to think, okay, you work in sales, you work in manufacturing. People did not understand supply chain. So for supply chain professionals and for people who are coming in supply, and even when I would go to the campus, or when I was in the campus, people did not understand what the supply chain world is. The fact that people now want to be in supply chain is a function of that people know supply chain exists. I think that is the first place, and that supply chain is a very highly data analytics career, something which is really something which the new professional should work on. So I think we owe it to the old supply chain people who have worked in this field, and the new I think some of the new things which have happened, disruption which has happened. I think only after in the COVID times did I first started hearing the word supply chain day in day out on TV. And I think from there to now today, if you open any channel or you open anything, in a day 2000 times they will utter the word supply chain, and each and every even whatever Tim Cook, Apple, Google, Amazon, and there now we have companies who are defined by supply chain. So Amazon as a company is completely defined by their supply chain. There is nothing else in Amazon apart from supply chain. So we have now companies who are completely defined by this field. Is a very good place to be in, I think, for any of the professionals. For the new professional coming into this field, I would tell them that compared to some of the other fields, the barrier to entry is very low actually. In some of the other fields, for example, maybe your finance or maybe your CAs or some of the other medical fields, you have to be a really expert on that field, and you have to go through a long time to be able to build mastery in this field. Compared to those fields, supply chain is, I think it's all about having that rational view of what should you be doing. You don't need so many formulas, you don't need that medical education on having to read 10 books to be able to come out with a solution. Some of the solutions that we do on a daily basis are very simple in nature, but you have to have that rational thinking. And as sir said, ability to go to the ground and see. So compared to just sitting in the boardroom and taking decisions, maybe in some of the fields like finance, what you really need to do is go outside in the field and see. If you want to go to the Gamba, I think that is what go to the Gamba. You just have to go to the shop floor and see what is happening. And that is, I think, some of the new age leaders of this world, their leadership is defined by that. So what does an Elon Musk do right now? If he wants to solve a problem at Tesla, he does not go and read another 10 books about supply chain, right? He just goes to the floor and sees on the floor what is happening. And on the floor, then you take decisions and you see, does it solve it? Yes. Does it not solve it? No. Then we will find some other solution. Some of your billion-dollar companies like SpaceX, which are formed now, in SpaceX, Elon Musk did not do 10 years of R&D to see how a ship is going to be able to, you're going to be able to land a ship. He did okay, let's just go out and try to land a ship. If it lands on the first time, it's okay. Otherwise, if it does not land on the first time, he will try it. You tried until the time you were able to land a ship. And and this is how the new approach of supply chain is really trying to pay out. Now, even when we are also in the boardrooms, a lot of time what we have told is, please try hard, fail quicker, and learn quicker, and then get the solution right, rather than doing a lot of analysis on trying to get things right. So to the new professional also, I would say don't really be too much bogged down by what has been the theory, what is the word. Please try to go out in the world, try it out, try to have some rational view in terms of try to understand, okay, I am in this situation, what does my customer want, I am in this situation, what would be the right thing to do it, and try to fail quickly, try to fail in a very, very small manner, and then work on that and try to deliver. I think compared to some of the other fields, this field is very, very easy to do it, and it's all about execution, and not a lot of theory is really involved in this field. So I think that is, you want to be in this field, the correct time is now, and you don't really need too much of an education also to be in this field. So very good field to be in, if you ask me, for young professionals. And it's a field that is going to be there for a long time. So you're automated. I think AI is something which is not going to have too much of an impact on this field. Actually, AI is going to enhance the supply chain field as we go along. So that will be what I would say to the new professionals.
I think just to supplement what Varun says, I think two things comes into mind that even so much of conservative, you can say from the regulatory or government bodies. I think everybody in the government is now talking about supply chain and logistics. Even within the Ministry of Commerce, we have a logistic department. The Secretary of Logistics exists in a government bodies, and everybody is talking about the logistics and supply chain. Even few years back, I think Prime Minister itself in one of the speech on Independence Day, he used the supply chain more than 25 times in a 1 hour speech. So you can imagine the way the supply chain is going in across the industries. And the second part of it, that how to supplement what Varun says, that in supply chain, I think what we have to use, what I always do in my teaching to the student, that supply chain is nothing like but using a common sense. Okay, common sense, common intelligence, you have to use it, right? Than artificial intelligence, you have to use your own intelligence, your own summarization, own synergies of the things, and then take decisions accordingly. So that is where you have to be in this area.
Absolutely. And to put it down in a very chemical way, I mean, the supply chain logistics is one which has got the infinite life.
Right.
So that's one particle. So thank you, and I hope that all our young professionals listening to this, now all the doubts are cleared. You are most welcome. Come and join the logistics and supply chain industry. So moving forward, at Triton and as Abro Group, we are a very strong believer in giving back to society through meaningful CSR, what we do. So I'd love to know, let's say among education access, environment conservation, or let's say community health, which cause connects to you personally and why?
So if I'll take the thing, then obviously the education access is one of the basic foundation through which you can take it up your environmental aspects and the health hazard, whatever it is there. So education is very close to me, because also I am teaching in various universities and the institutions on the graduates on this supply chain management. And education is not only at that level, but at the basic level itself. I think the every industry and every I think community member has to do their part of commitment to the society to impart the knowledge, training, and education access to every child of this country, so that we can have a basic foundation right, and then taking it forward to at least the intelligent way they can analyze how this thing is impacting our environment, whether I'm doing things right, wrong. Because if you are educated, your analytical things goes up, and then you try to analyze why I'm here, why I'm doing all this thing. Is it really supporting to the society or as a nation or as a world? And then taking inside of the health and other things. So for me, education is one of the area. I think education access and various I think industry as a CSR process, they are supporting education access. Even my own organization, I think we are large CSR activity is happening towards the education access, building of education at the ground stage of like at the nursery, at the primary schools level. Our organization is working on that, so that at least we are giving back to the society to at least our commitment to have this children's being educated across the group, and that is where it is now.
Varun?
Yeah, I think a lot of overlap is there with Ajay. I think obviously he's one of my mentors also, so obviously I'm very close to him. So in terms of what he wants to do also inspires me that ways. I think people, if I have to put it in one word, people. I think people is something that is close to my heart. I think in the entire being rational and trying to take a very, very rational decisions. I think a lot of scientists and people in this technical fields being very rational, and there the people thing, I think a lot of times get overlooked. Finally, whatever we need to get it done, we have to get it done through people. The person who we are serving are also people. So I think it is always very, very important to have that rationale into place. When we talk to our customers, we feel that they are rational in place. And if, for example, I am not able to serve them well, then they will have a very view that, okay, why are you not serving me? Finally, they are also people. You have to understand that they also understand that you are also human. And when you try to interact with those people in a very humane way, for example, when I try to talk to the front end team, sales and marketing, or the other teams, again, you need to have that very humane, people-centric approach and trying to see that, okay, what are the problems are they facing and what are the ways in which I can enable them to be able to serve the customer better. If you go with that approach, you see obviously a lot of value add you as a team can have. Then you move into that one team approach. I think again with the customers, trying to understand their problems, having a eye on the ground on what is happening, again really helps me to take those correct decisions and be at the right place to be able to serve that customer. Again, for the inside, the team which is there with the team that we are working on, and the team obviously which we are serving with the people above, again having that people approach, trying to understand that it is the person that you are working with. And I think we were having before this discussion that there is a very, very generational shift in which how the teams are really focused. Your the people, your millennials which you are working with and your Gen Zs you're working with, a very, very different approach to how they think. And then again, your leadership style has to change.
Correct.
On
Absolutely.
how you really those manage people. In your millennials, they would automatically give you respect because you are their manager and they'll be ready to work with you. And Gen Z would have more a transactional approach in terms of you really have to show them what value add you are doing as a manager, then only they'll be ready to work with you. So again, that people aspect is something I really focus on, and I am always the kind of person I really want to work with them, make things better for them. And I would, even outside the work, always I would be ready to give them advice in terms of how you should approach things and what would be the right things for you. And also to the community at large, in which I think me and Ajay both have that kind of a view that obviously supply chain is a very close knit community, and we want to give the right kind of approach. People who are new into this community, we want to give them that path on how really to do well in this community and how to be good. And I think as professionals also, all of us are working on very, very different things, and all of us are having that different kind of understanding. And if we share it with each other, we will have that holistic understanding. If you have that kind of a network, it is very easy to just quickly ask questions. Okay, you will just call your friend at HUL and ask them, okay, this is a problem that you guys are facing with, we are also facing this, can you please solve this problem? And they will immediately tell you, okay, this is what I'm doing. Compared to an old approach where you will hire a consultant, he will come in and he will take 2 months to build in that case, and then he will just write a case study on please do this. Compared to the people who are going through what you are going through, they will have a very easy solution. For example, I am somebody who's been working a lot of digitization and automation and obviously greenfield supply chain setup. If somebody calls me, okay, which is the best solution for this, I can just give you a one line answer, okay, please go with this. This will be the correct solution, and their problem is solved. So I think as professionals, again, we are all people, and we need to work with each others and make the community whole, and we can really give it to the other people. So I think the one word answer is people is what really fascinates me, and I want to see the human side of things, and that is where I want, I think that is very close to my heart, and I'm always ready to put in that extra effort, spend time with enriching the students, enriching professionals, also learning from my peers and my mentors, and trying to make myself a better supply chain manager. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think today the learning is happening both ways. So as you rightly touched, the millennials and the Gen Z, still the learning was from the mentor to the next generation. But what I am now experiencing is that with the advents of alphas and betas, I mean, we also need to learn a lot from them, because the whole style has changed. Their understanding, their way of working is pretty different. So the more we are able to be agile and adapt ourselves to those thought processes, because they are the future. They are the people who will be coming in and doing a lot of our activities tomorrow. So
And I think in that room now, what we see is compared to more having that manager and reportee relationship. Now I think people are very they want to have a very horizontal relationship. So they will very quickly come out in the room and tell you, no, boss. I don't think that this has to be done this way. Please be at that point, if you are really ready to listen and take those feedback, then you are going to get a lot of input in every room that you are being with. And finally, we have to all agree that the best idea has to win. If you set up that kind of a structure, when people are okay to stop you and again tell you, no, boss, this is not the correct way. According to me, this is there. I think out of 10 ideas, 3 or 4 will be good, and you should be ready to accept those ideas.
Of course.
I think Ajay was
I think that rightly said, Varun, that one team approach and a decision joint decisions are always be there, and even at our experiences what we have, every day is a new learning for us also. Like as I said, that AI, predictive analysis, all those things are new learning for us. Like when we are growing and when you are at this stage of life also, every day is a new learning. So collaborative approach, one team approach, taking everybody together to make the decision making process, I think that is where I think we will be able to achieve our targets, or able to a sustainable way of growth is there in the market.
Absolutely. And I think it was more like how it can be produced, it's shifting to how it will be consumed. And this is where this dynamic disruptions are happening, and then the next generation is much closer to that ground reality than probably we are, So I think, yes, so fantastic. So now we are moving towards the end of our podcast, and while we were discussing a lot about the new generation or the young professionals, so I've got a couple of questions from some of our students from different universities, and I thought that it's a good idea to throw these questions to you so that a larger audience can take benefit out of it. So the first question comes from Rutuja Shah from MES Garware College of Commerce, Pune. So the question is, given the complex nature of raw material sourcing in the chemical industry, especially with volatile geopolitical situations, how do you strategize supplier diversification and risk management in your supply chain operations?
Very good question. I think diversifying your supplier based on the critical raw material is very important, and COVID has given a lesson to us that you need to diversify your supply base, and this has to be a strategic decision where you need to have at least 2 or 3 vendor for your key strategy of your class A, class B item, and this is based on not only consideration of your cost, but also on the your transit, lead times, your offshoring, nearshoring, and supply based of the natural raw material. I think that is the way you need to evaluate all your aspects of getting this raw material in place.
Yeah, just to add to Ajay, so 3 type of diversification we use. First is for any raw material that we use in any of our product, there has to be a substitute raw material. So unless the substitute does not exist at all, we would definitely want to have substitute. Second is supplier based diversification. So for any product raw material that we are buying from any supplier, we would not have obviously one supplier supplying 100%, we would always have a business share. Even if one supplier, let's say, has a lowest cost, then also we will have at every point we will have a business share with one supplier not getting a share. Also, there will be a geographical diversification both within the country. For example, we would not want our raw material to be coming from any one state or region, and even for the finished goods also, we would not want our material to be always be stored in any one geographical location. And the last is obviously across the country. So even from the sourcing countries or region, we would not want any of our raw material to be coming from any one country, be it any in Asia, Europe, or so. This is how, and all these decisions are part of the long-term strategic planning of the company, and on a yearly basis we would sit and discuss and try to do the correct thing to be able to be mostly diversified across all of these parameters. Yeah.
Good. The next question comes from Apeksha Gupta from Gitam University, Hyderabad. What innovative strategies are supply chain leaders exploring to integrate blockchain technology for enhancing transparency and traceability in the chemical supply chain, especially for high-risk substances?
Yeah, so I think the blockchain, if you say it, is widely being used when right from the supply side to the customer side. I think there is a very straightforward to take it forward. All your documentation, scripted documentations are when documentations and other scripts are being used for R&D. I think where the blockchains are very required nowadays. Currently, when I speak about the supply chain, then it is like the intermediary, like regulatory bodies, are also being now going ahead with the sharing the data. Like in India, you have IceGate system in the customs, which is now being transparent and throwing the data from both the side. I think blockchains is being now scripted towards going forward a very natural way of transition from silo based of things to a widespread of close-knit organizational requirements.
I think Ajay has mostly covered the topic. Even for the product also now the traceability is what is coming on the blockchain. So I think for documents already Ajay has mentioned. Even for the products, you would have product traceability information available on the blockchain or in a traceable manner, so that any time in the downstream you should be able to trace back to which manufacturing locations or which supplier has supplied this material and what are the parameters for that material. So the blockchain is something which is really helping with the traceability. I think everything else Ajay has already added. Yeah.
Perfect. One question comes from Prathamesh Sharma, Chitkara University, Chandigarh. How can I identify and pursue niche mentorship opportunities in supply chain management to develop specialized expertise, such as in reverse logistics or humanitarian aid, that sets you apart in your career?
I think a lot of networking is happening nowadays within the institutions, academia and industry. I think that is where the mentorship is really working very the way it has to be. I think all the institutes or universities or business management schools has to collaborate with the industry and the expertise and the common conferences, common sharing of data, knowledge sharing. I think that is the way I think new generation and the experiences and when the diversified industry can be shared with the institutes altogether.
Correct.
I think the answer is ask. That's it. I think it's quite. I think compared to the yesteryears now, I think a lot of people are keeping that public profile. I think each and every professional is available on LinkedIn. All of us are now, I think, very public in nature. We all attend conferences are available. The answer is ask. I think it has never happened, I think, to me or to Ajay that somebody has come and asked for a question or a time and we would not have given it to them. It's very, just go out in the world, ask. Yeah. I think people, all the supply chain people, all of us are hungry to be able to spend time with our future generation and to help them. I think
absolutely.
So please go out in the real world and ask for it. I think definitely you will get this opportunity.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Very encouraging. Yeah. Well, this has been a truly enriching experience, discussion. The chemical supply chain is undoubtedly a very complex area, but at the same time, I also would say it's full of opportunities in terms of innovation, resilience, the responsibility. So thank you so much, Ajay and Varun, for your perspective, for your views on this, and for joining us on the TriNext podcast. To our listeners, stay tuned for more episodes as we continue to explore how the supply chain and logistics keep on shaping the industries of tomorrow. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected. Thank you.